guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jespi and today we are going to be doing a Sims 4 speed build in honor of the 1.6 update coming out on console for Stardew Valley. I'm a pretty new Sims 4 player. I only just started playing in May of this year, but Stardew Valley is one of my favorite games of all time, so I thought it would be super fun to try to recreate some of the buildings in The Sims 4, and I thought that it would make the most sense to start with Grandpa's farm. So without further ado, let's get into the speed build. So like I said, I am a very new Sims 4 player, and this is actually my very first build. I've watched a lot of build content, so I kind of knew some things, some tips or tricks that other simmers have mentioned, but honestly, like, you will see throughout this entire build that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to change my mind so often. I filmed this a couple weeks ago, so now after having built for a couple more weeks, I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing. But here I am just starting off by placing down the base shape. I decided to go with like the very first farm that you start with because I do intend on doing a little like SimDew Valley playthrough where I want to play the Sims in Stardew Valley, and I'm going to start off in this house with no money and I have to work my way up. I don't know the exact logistics yet of how I'm going to do that, but I have some notes written down, like I have to complete all of the collections. I really don't know too much about the Sims and the gameplay because like I mentioned, I only just started playing in May and I have not played that much either. I've pretty much played a save with my Sim self and I created a little family, but I didn't do any builds and I did the bare minimum just trying to get used to how to control Sims, and it was a 5 Sim household and it was low-key kind of crazy. Everything that I do in the Sims right now is base game because I kind of wanted to get used to everything that's available in the base game before I start adding in additional content that's just going to confuse me. I do have access to one kit that was given away for free by EA back in May when I first downloaded the game, which is actually why I downloaded the game. But as you see, because I only have access to the base game, I relied a little too heavily, I think, on debug. I didn't even know what the heck debug meant as of a couple months ago, but once I learned what it was, I was like, I'm going to need this for this build. And as you can see here, the first place I ended up using it is on the side of the house for this little like firewood pile. I basically just took out like 100 of these burning logs from debug and sized them all up, and I rotated them and stacked them and tried to make it look as realistic as possible. And I had to hand place every single one of them. So I was pretty proud of myself for doing this because this seems crazy for someone who this is their first build, but it definitely took me a long time to get this all done. This entire build, it took me like 4 hours just to build this whole house and this lot. I am building it on a 50 by 50 lot just because I wanted to have like the whole farm. But looking at this now, I'm like, this should not have taken me 4 hours. However, a lot of it was hand placing all of these logs. I have this sped up super fast on like 20 times speed just to get through it all. But I think in the end it turned out pretty cute and I am proud of it, though you'll see that I do use a lot more debug throughout this entire build. But then moving on to the interior of the house, I struggled a lot with this because in Stardew Valley, the interior of houses are very weirdly laid out, but this is The Sims, so I kind of wanted it to feel homey and cute and like a normal house and not trying to recreate a isometric pixel farming sim. So I took out a bunch of furniture and I ended up rearranging it 8 trillion times. When I watch this back, I am just so annoyed because I really like how it ended up in the end, but I clearly didn't really have a direction at the beginning. So I just have like all of the elements and I move them around a ton. One of the main reasons that I think I was struggling so bad when I first started the interior is because I wanted the interior to mimic the farmhouse that you receive when you very first load up into Stardew Valley, but all you have in the farmhouse is a bed, a table and chairs, a TV, and a fireplace. But this house was just so big. And I could have tried to shrink it down, but I had already spent so long individually placing every single one of those logs that I just really didn't want to do that. So I struggled with like, okay, do I want to add like a bathroom and a kitchen to this initial house? And I ultimately decided, you'll end up seeing that I do. I add a bathroom and I add a kitchen because after all, this is The Sims and your Sims do need to use the restroom and they do need to eat as well. I gave them the bare minimum of everything. They get a super tiny bathroom that just has a toilet, a shower, and a sink. And then the kitchen literally just has a fridge and a sink. And that's it. I don't think, yeah, they don't have an oven, they don't have a microwave. So all of that is stuff that I'm going to have to upgrade and buy as I play through my little playthrough. But I just kind of figured that realistically, if you were to inherit this little farmhouse from your grandfather, he would have had a kitchen and a bathroom inside of it, or at least an outhouse outside. But obviously you don't need to use the restroom in Stardew Valley, so that's not something that you ever get, but in The Sims it's a little necessary. Yeah, so see, for example, here when I'm putting the stairs down, I change my mind so often because since I was so new, and I still am so new, I really don't know all of the different items that are in the base game. So I went back and forth so many times trying to find like the color of stair that I wanted, and I ultimately ended up finding one that worked. But yeah, I learned a lot about what kinds of items are available while building this and doing some other builds. Little sneak peek, but I have started working on some buildings in Pelican Town, and those will be speed builds coming out in the future. But honestly, like, all of these builds are taking me such a long time because of the fact that I'm learning, and I had to look up so many tutorials. I had to look up like what's the smallest possible bathroom that you can have while it's still being functional, and that's what you're gonna see here in this build, is that I made this little corner bathroom situation, and you have to like scoot the toilet all the way up to the wall so that you have enough room for your sim to get into the shower. And that's just something that like you learn as you go, and now to me it's like, yeah, I know how to make a bathroom that's only like 3.5 tiles, but I had to Google that. And at this point in time, I've only made a couple of builds in The Sims. And when I first started this project and working on these speed builds, I only had about 50 hours in The Sims 4, and I've only made, I think, 1.5 speed builds thus far, and I'm already at like 72 hours, so it's taken me like 22 hours just to like get this far. Some of that, to be fair, was playing through the Reaper's Rewards event, which, can I just rant about that for a second? Because I had so much trouble with that stupid event. I really wanted to play it because it's free content, you know, it's free stuff in the base game, and I was learning how to do stuff. I didn't know how to make ambrosia. I didn't even know what that was. I'm new to the game, so I thought that it would be like a super nice thing for me to do as a new Sims player, but I had so much trouble. In the first week, one of your tasks that you have to do is wait for this like Ambrosia Society newsletter and then read it and then, you know, kind of do what it says. My newsletter would arrive in the mail and I would collect it and read it, and it would never update the task. I ended up having to like Google so many fixes for this, and I ended up having to like delete stuff out of my Sims folder and then like download. I don't know. I don't use any mods. I don't use any CC. I have 0 packs, and yet it still wasn't working. So that was quite frustrating. But in the end, I ended up completing the entire Reaper's Rewards event, but that probably added maybe like 10 hours. So I've spent about 12 hours on these 1.5 speed builds. But yeah, the way that I made this shipping bin was also another thing that I had to look up a tutorial on, because I had no idea how to get the roof on top of the half wall. I really wish that you could just place roofs on top of half walls, because it ends up being a major problem for me in my next speed build. I just have beef with half walls and getting roofs on top of them. But anyway, moving on, here I am working on the greenhouse. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make the greenhouse because I didn't know if greenhouses were something that were base game or if they were in a pack, because I'm pretty sure that I've seen that there is a pack that adds a lot of like greenhouse type stuff and like plants. I was fully prepared to not be able to make a greenhouse, and I was pleasantly surprised when I googled it, and you don't even need any custom content, you just need base game. But I struggled a lot with the greenhouse because I did want it to be a little bit decorated, because in Stardew Valley there are some plants and flowers and stuff inside the greenhouse when you get it. I didn't want it to just be like an empty glass box, but I didn't really like any of the plants that I was like pulling out. I really like how it turned out in the end, and when the speed build is over, I'm gonna pop back into the game and show you guys and give you a little tour, because I did end up changing a couple things after I finished filming the speed build, just because after I got a little bit more experience in the game, I went back and I was like, okay, I want to change this. I want to do some terrain paint. I want to add some special effects. I forgot a trash can in my kitchen, stuff like that. But yeah, I did a lot of trial and error with different plants to add into the greenhouse to make it look cute without having it like clip through the walls and whatnot. But here I am digging through debug again and grabbing a bunch of things. I thought that these like leaf wall things could be cute, but I ended up, spoiler alert, nixing all of them. I got rid of them all because I hated the way that they looked, and I didn't like that they were blocking the windows, but I wanted to try it out. The reason why I have so many debug items just like all over the lot is because I had remembered seeing something about how you can't copy and paste debug items. So every single time I saw anything in debug that I might potentially be interested in, I just grabbed like 50 of them so that I wouldn't have to go digging through the entire list again. And you'll see that here with this grass, because this is another instance of me overusing debug items, and I only realized after the fact, like literally 2 days ago when I went in to like take a look at my build and upload it to the gallery. I realized while going through the plant section of the like landscaping category that there is grass just like there. And I didn't need to use all of this debug grass and size it down and turn it around and all this whatever. I could have just used normal grass. Now, the benefit to the debug grass is that it is free. The base game landscaping grass is like 45 simoleons per like piece of grass, so like that would have kind of ended up costing a lot because I did want there to be grass all over this area over here, but it would have been significantly easier. So like at what cost? Yeah, maybe I had to spend a couple thousand simoleons on the landscaping, but I wouldn't have had to spend so much time scrolling through debug. But ultimately, in the end, I do like the way that it looks. And I was originally trying to make this whole build be a starter home price, like under 20,000 simoleons. Did that end up happening? No, it's closer to like 30,000 simoleons. So in the end, you have to cheat for money anyway, but you're inheriting this house from your grandfather. So I don't really think it's cheating for money. But anyway, I just used this terrain paint to get rid of all of the grass and make it this super ugly dirt, because that's how the farm is when you first arrive in Pelican Town and see your farm for the first time. So I wanted it to be true and accurate. And when I do my playthrough, I can decorate the farm as I go along, and as I get more money, I can buy things and add grass and pathing and little farm sections. So that'll be fun, and I'm really looking forward to decorating. Decorating in Stardew Valley is one of my favorite things to do. I'm really proud of the farmhouse that I have on my Perfection farm on my Switch. The decoration I've done on that farm is my pride and joy, and I've been so excited for the 1.6 update to come out because there's all the new catalogs, and I wanted to use them to sort of like redecorate my house and maybe decorate some more around my farm. So you already know I jumped on that the second the update came out, and I may or may not have a video on the 1.6 update on my Switch coming out in the very near future. So make sure you subscribe to keep up with that and to see when that video comes out. But yeah, I just went ahead and made a couple of little lakes in the same places that they are on the standard farm. All of this is just the standard Stardew Valley farm. I know there's like 7 or 8 different farm types, but this is the standard farm. I think it could be fun to recreate some of the other farm types, like the forest farm, the Riverlands farm, but for now I just wanted to keep it simple. And I also kind of realized that the greenhouse was a little too short. I made it a 5x5 square, but the greenhouse in Stardew Valley is not quite a square, so I made it a little bit longer. And I just sort of grabbed a gravestone from debug to use as your grandfather's shrine. And I know that since the new Life and Death expansion pack came out, that there was like a huge base game update for gravestones, and you can make a ghost in Cass and all of that stuff. So I might make my grandpa in Cass as a ghost, but I don't know if you get a headstone if you make a ghost in Cass, or if you only get one if you kill them in game. So right now it's just a debug headstone, and if you go over there, there's no epitaph or anything. So I don't know, we'll see if I end up changing anything with that. Let me know in the comments if any of you guys know the answer to that, because I really don't know anything, to be honest. I feel really dumb when I play this game. But yeah, so I just ended up going back in and adding some like upper cabinetry in the kitchen and some other final little finishing touches in the house, but I ended up adding even more off camera. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pop into the game and give you a little tour of the farm, since in the speed build everything's going so fast that it might be a little hard to see what was going on. But yeah, here we are on the farm. I did change it to be the Magnolia Parks lot, and I have it sideways. This is the front of the lot, and I wanted it to be like you enter at the front. So on the gallery it looks a little weird, but I think that it works out in the end. But here's the cute little house. I do really like the way that all of the debug grass looks, but it was a little bit tedious, and I don't know if it's gonna end up making it lag, but We'll see. My computer's going a little crazy right now just loading this in, but it is The Sims after all. So then inside I did end up changing a few things. I ended up changing the lamp that was over the kitchen table, and I added a trash can in here. But here's the little tour. So when you walk in, the TV and a little couch is right here next to the front door. Then over to the right we have a little fireplace, and back here we have the bed and a lamp. Over here we have the kitchen. I really like the way that the kitchen turned out. I think that it's super cute. I also am obsessed with this sunflower painting. It's giving me Haley vibes, and I love me some Haley. In the bathroom there's just a toilet. I use this toilet that has like the little wooden seat because I just thought that that gives farmhouse vibes, and then a shower and a sink, and it's just a super small yet kind of spacious little house. It's definitely a lot more space than what you get when you first load into Stardew Valley. And over here I also just put a trash can behind the shipping bin because I realized there's no way to take out the trash, and that is definitely important for gameplay purposes. But then over here we have the greenhouse. And what I ended up doing in here is for all of the non-functional planter boxes, I put just like cute little bushes in there, and all the ones that are over here, they are functional and you can plant things in them. And then I just put a couple of big planter boxes in the center. So it's pretty simple, but I think that the decorations turned out pretty cute, and I'm happy with the way that it turned out. Over here we have Grandpa's shrine. There's just a couple of candles and then the headstone. And then over here we have like the little lakes, and I learned about the effects and I may have overused them a little bit, but I thought that they were super cute. So I'm just gonna head over into live mode and show you what it looks like. I added some like dragonflies and some mosquitoes and a few like tadpoles swimming in the water. And I think that it just makes it seem a lot more realistic. There would be a ton of mosquitoes flying around in real life. But so yeah, that's the finished build, and I'm super happy with it, and I hope you guys liked it. If you have any tips at all, any suggestions on building or Sims gameplay, please let me know, because again, I cannot emphasize this enough. I have no idea what's going on. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the build, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I will be posting a ton more Sims 4 content. I post every single Friday at 10 a.m. CST, and I hope to see you guys back here next week for another video. Bye!